Today I'll be using our classic model tire changer to change the tire on this Aprilia Tuono rear wheel. Our classic model grips a 10 to 21 inch wheel, bricks a bead up to 10.5 inches wide. It's designed for all normal sized motorcycles. Unless you got an oddball size that's smaller than 10 or over 21, or a wheel wider than a 250, this should be the machine that you're going to use. It's also portable. It works with our hitch mount bracket, so you can put it in the 2-inch receiver on the back of a truck or SUV. I've got my protective gear on, I've got my safety glasses and gloves. First thing we want to do is we want to take the sprocket carrier out of the cush drive on the wheel. Now some of these get stuck pretty good, but usually you can pull them out. Pay attention to the wear on the cush drive. Some of the rubbers can wear out, fall out. You may want to replace them if they're worn. The next thing I'll do is I'll take the old weight off, the No More Weight scraper. It's a UHMW polyethylene stick. We can take the rest of the tape off with a glue remover. Then I'm going to remove the valve stem core. And I'm going to make sure I don't lose that. We won't replace the core until we've aired the tire up and seated the bead. The core will want to pop out on you at the last minute, so that's what the core looks like. And the core remover actually turns it like a little wrench. So once I've let the air out of the tire, I'm going to break the bead. I need to move the rear block to the peg hole with the yellow dot. And that's a different peg hole on each of our machines, but there is a yellow dot to indicate it. That positions that directly underneath the breaker tee. You lay your wheel on top of the blocks, use them as a press plating. Your rotors float. You can't bend a rotor while you're breaking the bead. The blocks act as a protective plating for the bottom edge of the rim. The non-mooring wedges on the tee separate and break the beads. Now this bead has not been broken for a while, so that's an actual broken bead. It's not a demonstrator tire at all. I just got this wheel on eBay and came in a couple days ago. You have a tremendous amount of leverage with this tool. Thoroughly break the bead all the way around, and then we're going to flip it and do the other side. I maintain control of the tire by letting it press into my legs or waist so that it doesn't slip off the blocks. Now most sport tires, I generally don't need the extra hand clamps to assist me in pre-compressing the tire, which would allow me to lock this in the blocks a little easier. I generally put the rotor side down. That should be putting all the extended mass toward the bottom. Now what I've done is I've pushed the wheel into the rear block first, and I'll slide it into the second dog block here. Now I'll push the wheel down into the cam, and I turn the cam and lock the wheel. Now if I were to underclamp the wheel and the wheel were to spin, I wouldn't damage it. Just push the cam a notch tighter. I'll use the spray lube first. We use the spray for taking the old tire off and the paste for putting the new tire on. And my goal is to get this down into the drop center so that the tire can slip into the drop center with less friction for clearance. I want to relieve the opposite side of the tire at about 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I can use an extra hand clamp for that. That's getting that into the drop center to give me a little more space on this side to get the tip of the mount demount bar in. Now sliding this on an angle can help. Now if you still don't have space, you can grab a second extra hand clamp and pre-compress a little bit more of the tire. This popped up, if you noticed, once I pushed that down. So I'm not going to hit this perpendicular. It would be difficult. I'm actually going to hit it on an angle and slide it in, which it went in quite easy with a lot of space. I've straightened the bar out. Now I want to pull the bar up to get the tip of the lobe nearest to the edge of the rim, while I collapse other portions of the tire. Then I can just lift the tire with the bar. I'll remove the extra hand clamps, move my center post into position, and what I've done is I've dropped the center post into the bearing center. I can lift the arm up until it stops or locks, and then tighten the knob. So I've got a good tension going on between the arm and the wheel. Now you want to hold the tire with your left hand, lift the bar up over any mass, and pull the bar to get the tire off. We pull the bar to take the tire off, and we push the bar to get the tire on. Pull off, push on. Now keep the non-mooring tip on the top edge of the rim. Never let it move. I lift the tire up. Now my goal is to bend this portion of the tire with the bar by leverage. When the top of the tire bends, the bottom will bend also. We lift it up and hook it on the lobe and drop it down to repeat the removal of the tire. I hold the tire once again to prevent it from rotating, grab the bar, and pull the second half off. You want to keep this clean. Clearly this bike was in a wreck. It had a lot of dirt and debris in the bead seat area of the rim. So I want to keep this clean. I want to wipe it all out. If you keep your blocks clean, free of mud and sand, you're not going to scratch the wheel. If you let them get dirty and you don't wipe them off, it can cause problems. If there's tire lube all over the locking blocks, the wheel could get a little slippery on you in the blocks. You may want to wipe that off with a water-based cleaner or just straight water. Okay, I'm satisfied that the wheel is clean. Now I'm going to prepare the wheel. I'm going to use the tire lube paste. I'm going to wipe it in the drop center. That's really from the bead seat area to the bead seat area all around the middle. And I'm really focusing on this curved little valley all the way around. It's going to do two things. It's going to reduce the friction when I'm putting the tire on, and when I inflate the tire, it's going to help it pop into the bead seat area easier. I'm also going to put the paste lube on the face of the rim between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock if 12 o'clock is the back post. Now on my new tire, I want to check the rotation. Now this wheel rotates counterclockwise. The tire should have arrows on it. This tire has an arrow also going counterclockwise, so I have it in the correct orientation. I'll look and see if there's any balance dots on it, which there are. There's 2 small red dots in this Pirelli Corsa 3. So I'm going to align those to the valve stem area. Theoretically, that should be a good position. Now, if you want to be really accurate, you could take this wheel off, put it on the balancer, and see where the heavy and light spots are. You can mark the inside of the wheel at the top of the light spot, and then align your dot to that spot, and you'll use less weights. Back to tire prep. I'll take the tire paste lube and I'll put it on the back of the inside of the tire on top. I'll also put it on the inside edge of the top, and I'll put it on the inside edge of the bottom. And that should be all I need to do. Now I'm going to push the first half of the tire on manually, hook the back into the drop center, and then force the tire down. Now I'll drop the center post into the bearing hole. The mount demount bar, 2-prong end, should start behind the back post, just over the left frame arm as you're facing the machine. Now you may want to use a yellow thing tool, which is one of our accessories. It is very helpful. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the tire started down in the drop center that has the lube. And then I push the bar with my hip. My body drives the bar. My left hand collapses the tire. And my right hand pulls the handle. Your elbow and arm should be straight. Don't crumple up and lean on it. Keep your arms straight. I'm probably pulling with my arm 60% and pushing with my hip 40%. I'll put my foot ahead of me, collapse the tire, collapse, 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 collapse. And some of these really need to buckle in to gain their clearance. But that's why we lubed the drop center, so that the tire could slide into it. We also lubed the back side of the tire so that it could pull over the rim ahead of the bar. It's not necessary to lube the outside face of the bead seat area of the tire. If you did, you could have problems when you accelerate and slipping your tire and losing your balance. So I'll finish this off. Tire goes on really easy. That's pretty typical of a sport bike tire change. The heavier the carcass of the tire, obviously the more you're going to have to work with it. So now I can take this wheel out. I can actually air it up. If I had air in our showroom, I could air it up right here and use the changer as a stand. Seat your bead. After you've seated your bead, then reinstall your valve stem core and fill it to the desired pressure. And then you're ready to go.